Have any of y'all heard from Chief Pinion, Captain Pinion? Let me send him a text right quick.
There's some happy people here. Happy.
All right, I got 2:01. We'll go ahead and get the meeting started. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Chief Thornton,
Here.
Chief Pinion, Lillian Pike.
Here.
Jennifer Hensley,
Here.
Dee Dee Hayes.
Here.
Chief Phillips.
All right. First on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 2022. The clerk's office has sent that out to everybody. Everybody should have a chance to read over those. Is there any questions? If there's no questions, can we have a motion to accept? Got a motion to accept, a second?
Second.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Pike.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hayes.
Okay. All right, motion carries 2 with 1 abstention. The next on the agenda is, how will you please log in at Chief Pinion's here?
Apologize.
No problem. All right, next on the agenda is old business, penalty for provision for refusal to supply information. We're going to take care of that next month. Chief Phillips has brought up some information also that we need to look at doing it all at one time. So we're going to hold off on that to go forward with that to next month. Chief Phillips, can you give me a report on the proposed response plan?
We are still working with Central Dispatch to get CAD to do what's necessary. We have it working in training CAD, but you can't do AVL live in training CAD, so we're waiting to schedule a time when we're available to put some mock ambulances on the road and do some live some testing in live CAD to see if the plan is even feasible.
All right, we'll get an update from you next meeting on what y'all get done in the next month. Is there any new business? All right. If there's no new business, we'll go ahead to the DFR monthly reports. Chief Phillips, will you do that?
For the month of March, Decatur Fire responded to 276 calls. Of those 276, 270 were within the 9 minutes, so that gave us a 98.5% fractile. In the PJ, we had 12 calls and we were 100%. For March of 2022, there were 1,416 calls for ambulance service. The breakdown is there. by the Deltas, Echoes, so on and so forth. Of those 14, 16, Decatur Morgan responded to 1,227, and first response responded to 189 up until March 15th. On March 14th, the city clerk received this letter stating that first response would cease operations on the 15th at 5 p.m. And so that was their final day.
Any further? Does anybody got any questions for Chief Phillips? Thank you. Mr. Childers, you want to come do the first response monthly reports?
Yes, good afternoon, thank you. First response ceased operations on the 15th, as the EMS coordinator has stated. As far as a report, we have not compiled a report. That was the middle of the month. But as part of a report that I would like to give. Again, we ceased operations on the 15th. We gave notice to the city per the letter. We thought that that was the best way to do it. However, I want to address something really quick, because this may be my last time before this board. Might not be, but we'll see. One of the things that led to the cease of operations of first response was the last ARB meeting. I know a few faces weren't here at that meeting, excuse me. However, the EMS coordinator, Mr. Phillips, wanted to levy penalties against us for non-compliance to the response plan that was supposedly implemented January the 14th. It was stated several times it was implemented, Chief Thornton. We remember that. We stood here before this board asking that it be considered that the ordinances had not been followed. Section 37B had not been followed. Out of omission from Mr. Phillips telling the truth. He did not follow the ordinance. But yet you were instructed to continue to vote. It's all on video. Go ahead and vote. Okay? Just a second, Chief, please. I'm just asking to rectify the situation. I just want to go out on a clean slate.
All right.
There was defamation of character. It was damages. And then on the 14th day of March, well after the meeting, we received this document that the gentleman just passed around. It's kind of a cleanup plan, if you will. When does it say the effective date of these rules go into effect? Last page.
I see the date.
April the 8th.
Where
April
we
the
going with
8th,
this?
not January the 14th. I would ask that this board take a special vote today to rectify and to show that first response was right, did meet the code that was at the city at that time. At that time.
This is a new document. The old document was in effect in January.
It's the same document.
No, it's not.
Okay. As I said, I would ask that you rectify the situation to cause no more damages and defamation of character to first response, because we received that letter on the 14th. That would conclude my report. Thank you.
Tyler, you got Decatur Morgan report?
Good afternoon. For the month of March, we responded to 254 calls in the city limits. 230 of those were under the 9-minute standard. 3 of those calls were not counted due to we were staging. We did have 9 calls that were rolled for the entire month. This resulted in an 88% response time in the city limits. In the PJ, we responded to 22 calls. 20 of those were under the 13-minute standard, and that put us at 91% for the month. In the month of March, we did have 3 mechanical issues. We had 1 truck that got a flat tire while on the scene. We had another crew respond and transport that patient. And then at the end of the month, we had 1 crew that was sitting at a red light and got rear-ended. There was no patient on board. There was no damage to the unit or no injuries. And then that same unit later that day had a contact with an awning at a facility, but there was no damage to our unit or any injuries. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
All right. Y'all got any questions? All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is discipline reviews, 2021 fourth quarter.
Yes, so, for the 2021 fourth quarter, both providers were below the 90% fractiles, both in the city and in the PJ. Financial penalties were issued to both providers, as we discussed last meeting. Decatur Morgan has requested an appeal of their financial penalty, and I had, as part of the financial penalty, I had requested the ARB to assess 5 points for each offense. So that would be a 10-point assignment to Decatur Morgan and a 10-point assignment to First Response. And then each service has a $10,000 financial penalty for not meeting each fractile, $5,000 each. So just a little clarification from my part on that. The ordinance requires the services to submit a quarterly report, and if that quarterly report does not meet the fractile response time, I'm supposed to issue a financial penalty. There's no leniency at all for me to make a determination of whether or not that financial penalty is correct or not. It's just the report was there and the times weren't met according to the report. You are the judge and jury, so to speak, to determine whether or not Decatur Morgan's appeal is accurate. You can reverse the financial penalty and choose not to add the points to their, I can't assess them points, y'all have to assess them points. So if y'all choose that their appeal is not justified, or is justified, then y'all would waive, or you would revoke the $5,000 financial penalty for each time infraction, and would not apply the points. That I muddled through that a little bit. Is that clear to everybody?
You said it correctly.
Is there any questions? Oh, good. You understand what? All right. All right. So Decatur Morgan is asked to appeal the assessment of points and penalty.
So as you know, we obtained our CPNC October the 5th. We did not start operating and running 911 calls until after the October ARB meeting, which was October the 12th, and we did not start running until 1600 that afternoon. With that being said, that left us without a full quarter of operation. During that time, we were also still in the process of upstaffing our units, getting more employees in, getting more crews on the road, which is what led to us not meeting our 5-hour response times for the fourth quarter. And with that, we would like to appeal the quarter, since we didn't have a full quarter in operation. We would like to appeal that.
Hey, could you repeat that last thing you said, please?
Since we didn't have a full quarter, that's why we're wanting to appeal this.
So do you think if you had a full quarter that you would have been able to make your times?
I believe so. We were at 85%. Had we had the staffing at the first part of the quarter that we did at the end of the quarter, I do feel like we would have met that.
Has anybody got any questions? Chip, so do I have to have a motion to apply the points and penalties, or how do I do this?
You would, the financial penalty, which has already been imposed, you would have a vote whether or not to uphold that, or to overturn it, or to modify it. Then you would also have a vote on whether or not to impose the point penalties or not. So it'd be two separate motions, two separate votes. I will say that on the one hand, you can take into account that it wasn't the full quarter that could impact it. And I will tell you, for the second thing, for track history, and again, it's completely your prerogative either way. When we went to this ordinance, and originally, we've always had a phase-in period when people have come in to get up to speed, but that's completely up to y'all, how y'all decide to deal with that.
So first off, I'll need a motion to apply the points as they've been set out, to reduce or to eliminate the points.
Yes.
So do I have a motion for one of those?
What you can do is say, do I have a motion to, and you pick one and see if you get a motion in a second. And if you don't get it on that one, go to the next one. If you don't get it on that one, go to the next one, rather than just guessing.
Do I have a motion to not assess the points to Decatur Morgan for last quarter 2021?
Make the motion.
We have a motion to not assess the points. Do I have a second? I have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Kenyon,
Yay.
Pike,
Aye.
Hempling,
Aye.
Hayes.
I'm gonna abstain.
Motion is carried with 3 to 1 abstention. Do I have a motion to not assess the financial penalty to Decatur Morgan EMS?
I'll make the motion.
All right. Do I have I got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it, get on the board.
Got a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Kenyon,
Aye.
Pike,
Aye.
Hempling,
Aye.
Hayes.
Motion carried 3 with 1 abstention. All right. Is there any presentations or anything else to present?
The quarterly report was tabled for First Response EMS also. Their financial penalty has to be upheld because there has been no appeal. But this board would still need to vote on whether or not to assess the 20 points to First Response. And I feel like that's necessary because there is a clause in the ordinance that prevents a service from reapplying for a CPNC if their point total was a certain amount. Correct, Chip?
That is in there, but I also think, I think it would have applied to the report today too. But I think any actions toward First Response or by First Response before the ARB became moot on the day they ceased operations. So they are not holders of a CPNC at this point. They're not subject to the provisions of the ordinance, and so that there would be nothing to vote on.
So just to be clear, since they ceased operations, there's no points assessment or penalties?
Everything pending stopped at that point.
So it's nothing to do.
There's nothing, there's no action to take.
All right. Does anybody got anything else? Okay. If nobody has anything else, we will be adjourned at 2:22. Our next meeting will be May 10th.
Putting it on my calendar now. Huh? Oh, it'll do me good, trust me.
Have you noticed how the police chiefs just wander in and out when they want to?
Hey,
One comes, one don't come late.
If Sylvester was in the building, send him.